Hi everyone, my name is Nelly and welcome to my commentary channel. Today we're going to be talking about Heartstopper, which is quite an amazing show. It's so lovely and so beautiful and so soft and so life-changing. So I've always wanted to talk about Heartstopper, but a lot of people in my life don't really watch Heartstopper, which is diabolical. And I don't know why I'm still friends with them, but whatever. So I thought, you know what? Since I gave myself a chance to be on the channel and on the internet, let me see where this leads me. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's get into it. All right, let's make one thing clear from the jump. Heartstopper is not just another teen romance, and it's not just another LGBTQ show. It's not just a sweet little love story with good vibes and pastel colors. No, Heartstopper is a cultural phenomenon, and I'm going to explain to you why. Heartstopper is a reset, it's a shift, and it's a moment. It's that kind of show that doesn't really come around quite often, and when it does, you're like, oh, there it is. We feel it and we kind of love it. The way it approaches queerness, coming out, and mental health with so much joy and so much realism and so much care without diving into trauma. It's unheard of in mainstream media. Before Heartstopper became this mainstream show it is today, it was a graphic novel series written by Alice Oseman, and let's just say Oseman, a genius, a visionary, and a mastermind, because not only did they create these characters with so much depth and emotional intelligence and an emotional realism, but they also understood something that most writers still struggle to grasp, and that is queer stories don't always have to be miserable and drenched in misery to be meaningful. They don't have to be always about pain, suffering, and unrelentless struggles to be seen as real. And that is exactly what Heartstopper feels like. It's a breath of fresh air. Oseman gave us a story where queer characters get to be happy. They get to be seen happy on screen, where love can be gentle, where coming out doesn't always have to be a tragedy, and where mental health struggles are acknowledged without being turned into a spectacle. It's groundbreaking, in my own opinion, in its softness, and yet that softness doesn't make it any less important. In fact, it makes it even more essential. Now, let's get into the show. We're going to talk about our main two characters, which is Nick and Charlie. These two, they're the reason so many people have clung on to Heartstopper, like it's their emotional support. So let's start with Charlie. Charlie Spring is the character that stays with you forever. And I'm saying this because he's such a very kind and thoughtful and deeply anxious and caring more than he lets on character. His story isn't just about being a queer kid. It's about the aftermath that comes with being forcibly outed. How that kind of violation of privacy chips away at your self-worth, making you feel like you've never been truly safe, you will never be truly free. And Heartstopper shows that without turning Charlie's trauma or pain into some drawn-out, exaggerated after-school special moment. It's subtle, it's realistic, and it's quietly devastating. Especially when you watch season 2 and realize how it starts to manifest in Charlie's life. When we realize that Charlie has developed an eating disorder, I personally feel like this is not because the show needed a shocking mental health storyline, but because it's exactly how deep-seated trauma works. It lingers, it sneaks into your habits, And sometimes even the people closest to you don't realize how much you were struggling. And that is where Nick Nelson comes in. I'm smiling because he's such a cutie pie. Nick's journey is another reason why Heartstopper hits so differently. Because how often do we see a coming out story where a main character or any character gets to navigate their feelings without being punished for it, where they're allowed to actually be confused, be scared, and be overwhelmed, but never be ashamed of it. Nick's bisexual awakening was handled with so much care and was so authentic. The panic googling, the denial, the fear of how people will react, and the slow, quiet realization that he's not just confused, he's just discovering himself in real time. And when he finally comes out to his mom, played by the beautiful Queen Olivia Colman, and she responds with nothing but love and reassurance, it was the kind of moment that felt radical, but we're not used to see it in mainstream media for sure. Nick's story makes it clear that coming out doesn't have to be traumatic all the time. It doesn't have to be filled with rejection and heartbreak. Sometimes it can be soft, it can be reassurance, it can be just simply love. And the fact that this was very surprising to the audience shows that Heartstopper is really necessary for the mainstream media. Now we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of Heartstopper, which is how they handled mental health, especially Charlie's. It would have been easier for the show to just gloss over the bullying effects that Charlie would have gotten, but instead it gave us a raw and honest portrayal of what it means to carry trauma. Charlie doesn't just move on with his life. He doesn't just wake up one day and feels like, oh, okay, I'm fine now. He struggles a lot. He struggles with self-worth. He struggles with eating. He struggles with the belief that he is too much for the people he loves, and he will never be loved the way he's worth of being loved. And Heartstopper refuses to turn away from that reality. Season 3 takes this even further because then we're introduced to a different Charlie. We see the aftermath of everything that Charlie has endured, and it's hard to watch at times, but it's necessary because Heartstopper is not only just about the cute, it's about the real. And that is something Alice Oseman has been open about. They talked about how it is important to show Charlie's struggles without making them his personality. He's not just a victim of his circumstances. He's a fully developed character who is learning how to heal. And that is very important to be shown in mainstream media. Now, this is where we talk about why I think Heartstopper is a cultural phenomenon and it's a cultural reset. As much as I am not part of the LGBTQ community, I've grew up watching so many queer represented media shows and movies, and I grew up around queer people and thinking about what queer representation looked like even a decade ago. It was often limited to side characters or tragic endings or storylines that revolved around so much trauma for the characters. And then a few shows like Heartstopper or Love Victor came in and said, what if queer teens could just be happy? What if they could just have adorable relationships, loving friends, and a moment of pure and unfiltered joy? What if their stories weren't just about trauma and about surviving all the damn time? And that is what makes shows like Heartstopper so phenomenal and so revolutionary. It doesn't erase the struggles that comes with being queer, but it also doesn't make the struggle the only thing that the characters have to experience in the story. I would say this show has given an entire generation of queer youth something they've never really seen before. A mainstream love story that's allowed to be beautiful and soft and not drenched in trauma. And that impact is very massive. Fans aren't just watching Heartstopper, they are living it in their lives. The conversations it sparks about identity, mental health, and safe queer spaces is very important and will always be important. And the way it has made people feel seen and validated and understood is very powerful. And that's why I think Netflix shouldn't fumble this bag and actually renew Heartstopper for another season. Please. Now, before I do my monologue last bit, I want to address this to Netflix. We've seen before, Netflix has a history of canceling shows that highlight diverse voices. I mean, First Kill, Warrior Nun, I am not okay with this. Should I keep going? No, I shouldn't, but you get the gist. So if they even think about pulling the plug on Heartstopper, that would be quite devastating. They need to understand that they will be messing with the movement. And I'm not kidding. I'm really serious. They'll be messing with the movement. Fans will not be happy about this decision. I will not be happy. And honestly, they shouldn't have to fight for something that is important. And this, I'm talking about the fans. Heartstopper isn't just a TV show. It's a statement. It's a reminder that queer joy deserves to be seen. And if Netflix messes that up, that's not a good look, especially since it already has 3 seasons. Just add one more final season. Let's close the chapter in a very beautiful and flattering and satisfactory way. Please, Netflix. Now, I've come to my end of my video, but I would like to say, at the end of the day, this isn't just about a TV show, it's about Heartstopper and what Heartstopper represents. This is about the queer kids who have grown up and then never seen themselves in love stories that didn't end in heartbreak or in trauma. This is about the way the media has conditioned us to believe that queer happiness is something unrealistic, something unattainable, something that must be earned through suffering. And I love how Heartstopper just came through, especially using teenagers, and said, no, that's not the story we have to write for queer people or for the queer society. They said no to tragedy. They said no to trauma, no to the idea that queer love has to be always about pain or be painful to be validated. And I feel like that's why the show matters so much to people, especially to queer people. That's why people are, I would say, obsessed with it. They love it. That is why the fandom is so ride or die for this show, because this isn't just an entertainment piece. It's a cultural shift. It's a generation reclaiming their right to softness, wholesome, joyful love. It's a moment in history where a mainstream platform actually got it right, mainly because they involved the person who initially created the art and the piece. And if Netflix thinks for 1 second that they can cancel Heartstopper, they'll be breaking too many people's hearts. If they're considering fumbling this bag, they better be ready, because the fans will not be happy. They will not sit quietly. We've seen what happens when people really rally behind a show. So Netflix, be smart. Renew Heartstopper. Besides that, I'm just going to say thank you to Alice Oseman for creating such a beautiful masterpiece that has changed people's lives and allowed people to change their mindset about queer love and about stories and how mental health or coming out should be portrayed in mainstream story. That is so powerful and that is so beautiful, and I would like to give them the round of applause because they deserve it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to my video. I hope you guys enjoyed my dissection on Heartstopper, and I do hope Netflix renews Heartstopper. Don't forget to like and subscribe.